So I have a picture of my dad that was painted when he was in the army in Stuttgart, actually, as a part of the occupation forces at the end of the Second World War. It's actually painted on a piece of wood because wood was easier to come by than canvas in that situation. The reason I brought it down to show you is I'm thinking about veterans, because we're talking about anxiety. And I wanted to talk tonight about anxiety from our past. Tomorrow, or the next devotional, I'm going to talk about anxiety from our past, about things that we have done. Tonight, I want to talk about anxiety from our past of things that have been done to us. And for a lot of veterans, they deal with PTSD. Fortunately, my dad did not deal with that, but I had an uncle who was seriously wounded in the Second World War, and I had a parishioner that was on Omaha Beach for D-Day. He spent most of that day up to his neck in water in an overturned tank. In the last couple of years of his life, and he did live well into his 90s, but I would ask him how he was doing, and sometimes the only word he could share with me was anxiety. There are a lot of things that happen in our past that may be hard to forget, hard to get rid of. The Apostle Paul had more than a few of those things. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, he talks about this because the church that he's serving has been enamored with these people that he calls super apostles, who brag and boast about all these things that they've done. Paul takes that idea and flips it on his head, talking about some of his credentials. And this comes up in chapter 11, verse 24 and following. 5 times I received at the hands of the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. A night and a day I was adrift at sea. On frequent journeys, in danger from rivers, danger from robbers, danger from my own people, danger from Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea, danger from false brothers, in toil and hardship, through many a sleepless night, in hunger and thirst, often without food, in cold and exposure. So these are things that have happened in the past. Then we get these interesting verses. And apart from other things, there is the daily pressure on me of my anxiety for all the churches. Paul had sleepless nights even from things going on in the present, and we'll deal with those issues a little bit later on. But even Paul admitted and experienced anxiety. Who is weak and I am not weak? Who is made to fall and I am not indignant? And then we get this in verse 30. If I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. And Paul goes on in chapter 12 to talk about some even more phenomenal things. But he closes by talking about Jesus meeting him when he is begging the Lord to take what he calls a thorn away from him, a messenger from Satan. But Jesus comes to him and says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Friends, if we're wrestling with anxieties about things that have happened in the past, and it causes anxiety to rise up in us, we're shown or we're reminded of our weakness. And Jesus Christ is able to meet us in that place because we recognize that we need him. Paul's basically saying it is in my weakness that I am actually at my strongest, because it's not my strength that matters, it's Christ's. When I was in Israel a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to see Caiaphas's house, the place where Jesus had part of his trial done. And there's this pit in this house. And there's a mosaic with Psalm 88 on it, which is really a pretty good description of somebody going through PTSD. It's an incredibly dark psalm. And the idea is Jesus Christ went through this incredibly dark experience. He knows what it's like to suffer. He knows what it's like, in a sense, to have anxiety. And yet, he is gentle and humble at heart. And he is able to meet us and give us rest. So friends, if you're dealing with anxiety from your past, know that the strength of Jesus Christ can perfect that anxiety and bring you closer to him. God bless you today.